Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's Thursday, June 16th edition of Touch 'em All. My name is Dalton Brown here with BC in Houston. You can find us both in Twitter at those addresses, at Dalton J. Brown, at BC_Houston1. You can see them in the banner at the bottom there. Before we do too much promo or too much information about the site, I'll tell you this. Both of us have been really hot on MLB recently, but we've got two games that start in the next 10 minutes. So we're going to dive right in. I know BC's got to play on this first one. This is coming up in about 7 minutes' time. That's going to be 959 Orioles and 960 Blue Jays from Toronto. So go ahead and take it away.
Okay, guys, so if y'all are trying to get in the place quickly, it's going to be the first five under 4.5, the Blue Jays run line, and I like Kevin Gossman over 7 strikeouts. It was a good game last night. The Jays needed an extra set to get it done. But they did what they were supposed to do, and they kind of made everybody on that big minus 300 line give them a little sweat. Excuse me. The 27-year-old goes tonight. It's Tyler Wells going for the O's. He's been pretty serviceable lately. 10% strikeout rate, so he's been solid with 3.5 expected ERA, and then his walk rate, percentile average, or percentile in hard hits and average velocity is all better than most. Gosman, what can you say about this guy? He's been spectacular. Surrendered no more than 3 runs in any time this year. Walk and chase rate are top 5%. 2.67 ERA with a 1.9 WHIP. So this basically boils down to, I wouldn't call this a wash by any mean on the mound. Gosman's obviously the proven guy so far. He is your Cy Young contender right now. Tyler Wells looks like he's going to be a good rotation piece for the O's moving forward. This basically boils down to the bullpen, and the Orioles have had one of the worst bullpens in the month of June. 4.7 xFIP. They're only striking out 13% of batters. Toronto's smoking right-handers this month. I think only the Yankees have the better weighted runs created so far in the month of June. And on top of that, Blue Jays are slugging over 500. Team OPS, 3.75. I like the Gossman strikeout prop because the O's strike out at the 7th highest rate in the majors. Gossman's got that filthy fastball that he finishes off with some off-speed stuff. He's going to be sitting a lot of them Baltimore guys down. Also, he's got over 7 strikeouts in 4 of his last 5. Guess who he faced? Houston, Boston, New York. No one's going to confuse him with the Oriole hitters. For whatever reason, the only time he didn't get over 7 strikeouts was against the Rangers, but they've been hitting the ball better lately. First 5 under 4.5, Blue Jays run line, and Gossman over 7. Take it deep.
All righty. Yeah, I don't mind it. You know, I think I'm pretty high on Tyler Wells. He's been pretty respectable. You know, he's only allowed more than 3 earned runs once, and that was in his season opening start. So, you know, I feel pretty good about, you know, him being a guy that's not going to get just blown out of the water. That being said, Toronto is pretty terrifying, especially against righties right now. They've got a 151 WRC plus in June in that split. Like you said, they're second to the Yankees only in the month of June in their, you know, hitting splits. My only concern with Gossman, he's given up 2 or more earned runs in 5 of his last 8. And I think in June he's been a little fortunate in terms of unearned runs not being counted against him. You know, in 9.2 innings pitched in June, we're looking at 7 runs and 15 hits. So I'm a little shaky with him, but I think, you know, the competition point you point out, where it's like you look at the teams he's been facing recently, and then you look at the Orioles, it's a clear step down in competition. And this is a guy who we've seen pitching at near Cy Young form for, you know, about a year and a half now. So, you know, I feel pretty comfortable with him. I think, you know, I don't mind Toronto run line at all. You know, I do think though that on the money line that the Orioles have some full game value. The Orioles bullpen has actually been 4 spots better than Toronto's in June so far. Orioles bullpen is actually 9th in June in ERA, which shocked me. So they've kind of been running a little hot recently. But, you know, I think for me, I see a little bit of money line value full game at plus 225. But I think you know, if you want to look at Toronto, run line is definitely the way to do it. Especially the way that offense has been scoring, the way they've been playing at home. You know, all 3 games in the series so far have gone over as well. So, yeah, I don't mind it, and I think strikeout props against the O's tend to do pretty well too. So, alrighty, we'll dive into the other game that starts up here in I think we're looking at about 6 minutes now. That's going to be the 967 Cleveland Guardians, 968 Colorado Rockies from Coors Field today. Been a pretty topsy-turvy series between these two. I know last night Guardians came through for me in a big way, picked up a win late. And, part of the reason I like the Guardians in both the first two games of this series is just how much better their bullpen's been than Colorado's. When you get these games at Coors Field and they go 4-4, 5-5, through 5 innings, it really starts to depend on, what you're going to get late in the game. Obviously, that advantage still exists, but I'm actually looking first 5 innings over in this one. It's going to be over. I got it over 6 at -123. You might have to shop around to find a 6 instead of a 6.5. I don't know that I take it at 6.5, but I'll kind of walk through why. Tristan McKenzie has good season-long numbers. He's got the 3.09 ERA, but he's given up 7 home runs in his last 3 starts. And if you actually look at some of his advanced stuff in Baseball Savant, it's really not pretty. His expected ERA is 4.08, so about a full run higher. That tells me that there's some negative regression coming his way. This is a young kid who's never pitched at Coors Field, and I think just that the trends for him aren't pretty. Too much hard contact overall, but his last 6 starts, his first 6 starts of the season, guy gave up 1 home run. He's made 5 starts since then and given up 10 home runs. So pretty clear to me that teams are starting to square him up better as the season goes along. His season-long whip of 0.89 is obviously incredibly impressive. That teams are starting to square him up better as the season goes along. I don't want to take anything away from him there at all. I mean, he has had a really good season, but the advanced metrics don't suggest that it's going to continue. And same can be said for Chad Kuhl on the other side. 3.70 season-long ERA, but an expected ERA of about 4.5. And you look at the numbers for him, it's the contact profile has been getting rapidly worse. On Baseball Savant, they have the little line graph they'll show you at the bottom of the page with the expected WOBA over the past 100 plate appearances for a guy. Mm-hmm. And it's a straight upward line into the blue. So teams are really starting to figure him out recently, and it kind of checks out. His April was really good, but ERA over 5 in May, ERA about 4.5 in June. He's only 17th percentile in K rate, 29th percentile in walk rate, so he's putting too many guys on, not striking enough guys out, and the contact profile is getting uglier. So to me, I look at a Cleveland team also that's above average against righties in the month of June. We know the Rockies can score a bit at home, so 4 5 innings over 6 here, I think it's a great look. That game starts up in about 4 minutes here at 3:10.
Yeah, if you want to do a little more action on the full game, I've got a very small wager on Guardians money line. I went ahead and laid the -140. I think they sweep today. You mentioned that the series have been pretty close so far, but all the Rockies series in the past 2 have been close. I think they've lost by 1 or 2 runs their last 7 or 8 games. So they've been in the fight, but one thing or another keeps them down. If it's not the terrible bullpen, it's probably that team average of 190 with runners in scoring position. That's definitely not helping anything. But like you mentioned, Kuhl and McKenzie both overperforming according to the peripherals, especially in their last starts. Righty on righty, that plays to the Guardians. Small right to left wind, I believe, last I looked, but good sunny hitting conditions. I'll tell you on that. I need to make sure I can find a 6. But I got a little bit on the Guardians. I think they go ahead and close out the Rockies tonight.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
In 3 hours. Sorry.
Yeah, I definitely agree in terms of the side there. I was looking for something around 120, so I don't know that I'm willing to go on the money line, but I think if you made me play it, that's definitely the side I'd look. So moving down into the more standard rotation order now, we're going to jump into the NL East. 9-5-3 Philadelphia Phillies and 9-5-4 Washington Nationals. Of course, the first game on the board is that Padres-Cubs game that's in action right now. If you've been following the picks on SportsMapElite, I had a Padres first 5 run line there for 2 units. Off to a pretty good start. We're up 3-1, bottom 2. Nice. You had a pick on that game as well, right?
On the Padres, I don't think I posted it to SportsMapElite. I think I had Padres on the run line for the full game with something small. You know me, I can't not leave an afternoon baseball game unbetted on. So I believe I'm on the run line. I'll double check that, but it's for lunch money.
All righty. Well, so we'll jump in with Phillies Nationals. It's going to be Zach Wheeler and Patrick Corbin from DC today. Philly's pretty big favorite here, -185. Nationals +170 at home. looking at a total over under 9. We have spent a lot of time this year talking about Patrick Corbin being the perfect fade. And, I think we've both made quite a bit of money fading him so far this season. Kind of interesting because he's won 3 of his last 4 starts. And I think some people are probably going to stop fading him so religiously. I'm not going to stop fading him. Now, today I don't have a play on this game just because I don't see the value I was hoping for. But, if you look a little deeper, those last 4 starts where he's won 3 of the 4, his ERA has actually gone up over that span from 6.60 to 6.65. He's allowed 17 runs and 35 hits over those 4 starts. So, him getting a bunch of run support all of a sudden doesn't make me feel any better about his pitching.
Exactly.
Looking at the flip side with Zach Wheeler, this guy's settled in. He's having a great year. ERA 1.5 in June, same thing in May. 6 or more innings pitched in 5 straight. Hasn't allowed a home run for 5 starts. My only concern with him, he saw Washington 6 times last year, and the results were pretty meh, if we're being honest. Washington's kind of a weird team right now. They just got swept by Atlanta, but everybody's getting swept by Atlanta. And if you actually look at what they've been doing, they're averaging 6 runs a game on this homestand, even though they're 2 and 4 or whatever they are. So they've kind of been hitting okay, and they hit righties okay. I think Philly is the only side I can really look at, but the price is too steep for me. What do you got?
Yeah, I've actually got I've got a couple plays on this game. I wasn't one of the first ones on the first car of the Phillies train when it took off from the station after firing Girardi. I jumped on the second or third cart, but I've been riding it the entire time. They've been making us a bunch of money. By the way, shout out to Zach Wheeler. I know he's a big fan of the show. He had a little girl last week as well, so congratulations to him, fellow girl dad. But that hasn't distracted him. 6 scoreless versus Arizona. He's gone 6 innings. He's got at least 6 innings pitched in his last 3. He's allowed 0, 2, and 1 earned run in his last 7. He's been 1.6 ERA and a sub-1 whip. So he is just dealing right now. You already mentioned everything I could possibly say about Patrick Corbin. And I'm glad you pointed out that even though the record really doesn't mean jack shit, it's really just an indication the Nats started hitting all of a sudden. I don't think that's going to happen tonight. The Nats have only scored 12 runs in their last 4, and they're all losses. So the bats came alive in his previous 2 spots up in the rotation, or three, pardon me, but not so much lately. And I don't think it's going to take off against Wheeler either. The Phillies slowed down a bit against the Marlins' top rotation, but Corbin's a great pitcher for them to break back out again. And the offense, again, I don't think is going to be it. I think it's already started to sputter, and it's going to go kind of regress back to the mean. We always talk, seems like every week, you and I talk about how big a concern the Phillies bullpen is, and they still have been a pretty big concern. But I still think the Rumble Ponies have them covered by a mile just in every other facets. And Phillies have covered the run line in Wheeler's last 5 of 6. So I'll go ahead and lay some juice. Give me the Phillies first 5 -0.5, the Phillies run line, and I do like the game over 9.
All right, sounds good. Go Phils. Moving on down the board, we've got staying in the NL East. We've got the Milwaukee Brewers 9.55 at 9.56 New York Mets. I don't have a bet here. You want to go ahead and start jumping into this one first?
Sorry about that. To sneeze. Yeah, I actually wasn't able to dig much out of this. I mean, the Crew no-showed in Game 1. The Mets no-showed in Game 2. There's been no consistency from anyone in this series. Aaron Ashby, bad record, good stuff. Got walloped by the Nats, speaking of them. But his peripherals, velo, and everything altogether says he's a good pitcher. At least he's another guy who's going to be a key piece for the Brew Crew. Ty McGill started off fantastic, untouchable almost. And since then he got hammered in May, brought it back a little bit this April. Kind of odd, though. I don't know maybe if you have any information on this, but his innings and pitching count has decreased substantially. So I haven't been tracking his velocity, which you as an ex-collegiate pitcher would know that a guy losing miles per hour on his fastball is necessarily an indication of injury, but more the rotations on that same fastball, if he's hurt or not. So could be a situation there. McGill he might go 5, he might not. The Brewers hit the righties well. Mets don't hit the lefties all that well. I think Ashby probably keeps the Brewers in the game. Both offenses probably kept in check early. I'm going to go and take the Nerfy on this one. According to Odd Sharks, which I check sometimes, too much inconsistencies between both offenses and both pitchers. But Ashby and McGill are a combined 15-2 to the Nerfy, and it's only -120. So give me no run first inning, and I got nothing else on that game. It's, like I said, just way too much.
Yeah, that's a really good nugget on how well those guys have been performing on that bet. I've got some notes on both pitchers. I mean, to kind of address what's going on with McGill, I think there was an injury there because he missed about 3 weeks between starts. So
two starts in May, so it had to have been something to do with that.
Yeah, and then he came back and only threw 3 1/3. So I think he's coming back from injury. But I'm kind of concerned about him in general. If you kind of follow Mets Twitter at all, they talk about him as if he's like the third head in this monster with DeGrom and Scherzer. And I mean, he's not. He's fine. Don't get me wrong. He had a great April. 1.93 in April, but 14.85 over 2 May starts. Didn't look very good in his return last time out. Gave up 5 hits in 3 1/3, 2 earned. Gave up a homer, a walk. I think to me he's a fairly average starting pitcher. His expected ERA reflects that at 4.05. I don't think this is a guy who, I'm necessarily looking to fade or back every time out. It's going to kind of be circumstantial with him. And today I kind of fall right in the middle. Both these bullpens have been kind of shaky in June, even though they're both pretty talented. So I don't give much of an advantage there. I kind of just look at the starters in this game. Aaron Ashby, too, this is a guy that, he's 80th percentile or higher and a whole bunch of stuff on Baseball Savant, and there's reason to feel good about him overall, but I'm concerned about what's going on with him recently. His walk rate isn't really great for the season overall. He has been good at getting soft contact. We looked at his last 2 starts, 10 earned runs in 2/3 innings. And he gave up 13 hits last time out against the Nationals. That almost makes me wonder if he's tipping his pitchers or something. Because that's a ton of hits to give up in one start. So I don't know. Maybe he's getting figured out. I don't really know what to make of it. Both these teams are kind of average in these splits. The Mets don't exactly kill lefties. The Brewers don't exactly kill righties. So Mets -125 or so at home kind of makes sense to me. I think they're a little bit better team. They're at home. I can see making them a small favorite. Over under 8 kind of makes sense to me. So I don't really have anything here. I'm kind of interested to see what we get from these 2 starters.
Yeah, same, man. I got the Nerfy on it, and that's about it. That's just a trend derived play right there.
Sounds good. All righty, on to the next one. We're skipping over Orioles Blue Jays at 9.59 because we already talked about that. Moving down to 9.61 Rays at 9.62 Yankees. I've got kind of a fun play here. You have anything on this one?
Yeah, actually, I got a ton on it. Go ahead and let's start off with some fun. What you got?
Yeah, I'm going to be playing Tampa first 5 innings plus 210 on the money line.
You're a maniac.
I just think that's a wild number here. I don't. I mean, look, this is Yankees Rays. It's getting lined as if it's Yankees Orioles. I get it. Luis Severino has been good, all that, right? But this is a guy who just gave up 4 earned runs in 6 1/3 to Tampa about 2 weeks ago. Now I get it. Tampa only had 2 hits in that game. Both were homers. That start could have been better. Sure. And Severino's having a great year. Sure. I get why the Yankees are favored. But -240 on the money line, Tampa plus 220. I mean, what are we doing? I can't wrap my head around the line being that big. And I think part of the reason I really like Tampa in this spot, number one, they've got a winning record over the Yankees the last couple of years. They just in general give the Yankees problems. But Jalen Beeks on the mound for them. This guy's been phenomenal this year. It's backed up by Baseball Savant. All his stats look really good, and he's worked as a reliever all season. I think he'll probably go maybe once through the order here tonight. 8 of his last 9 outings as a reliever have been scoreless, including 2 1/3 against the Yankees in that series down in Tampa. I think, and then you look at Tampa Bay's pen, 1.52 ERA in June. I couldn't figure out on Twitter whether Drew Rasmussen's going to follow him into the game or not. If he does, Rasmussen's been really good too. To me, with Tampa's ability to prevent runs here, I wouldn't be surprised if the Yankees have 1 or 2 runs at most at the end of 5 innings and maybe even are held scoreless. So as much as it's kind of feels like jumping in front of a freight train to fade the Yankees right now, I think the Rays should be like plus 150 in the first 5, and they're plus 210. So I'm putting half a unit on that. Still gives me an opportunity to profit more than a unit without laying too much on it. But I think a half unit on Tampa first 5 at that kind of a number is something I can't pass up.
Yeah, I can definitely pass it up. Just to touch on Beeks, like you said, he hasn't pitched more than 2 innings in any appearance in the past 2 months. You've already mentioned his stuff's good. It's elite, actually. The Angels did get to him. He gave up 3 earned runs last month to him, somewhere around May, but 0 surrender the rest of the time. How many pitches? Question mark, question mark, question mark. That's what my notes actually say. Rasmussen chases him in, tails him in. Then you can only limit him once or twice in the order, depending on how well they're keying on his stuff. Let's not forget, these are the Yankees. They're tagging everyone. No pitcher is safe against them. Not even McClanahan last night. He didn't get torched, but they took him yard more than once. Severino, he's still filthy. 11 appearances, 61 inning pitch, 2.8 ERA, 1.03 WHIP. I've watched both games. It's been pretty good baseball. I feel that the Rays have raised the white flag today. Normally, when you get a bullpen game from Tampa, it's as good a stat line at the end of the game as any team's 3rd or 4th best rotation guy with a strong bullpen. It kind of feels like the Rays are going through a bit of a motion here. I think they're going to try and maybe save some arms. I know they only used 2 relievers last night. McClanahan actually probably should have gotten the win. That was a bullshit drop pop-up earlier in the game. But it kind of feels like this is a spot for them to go through the motions and get their juju back before they go to Baltimore, which is a club that's going to be more conducive to getting some wins. And then they go home to face these Yankees again, who are obviously more competition in the division. New York has the better starter, the better bullpen, higher offensive ceiling. It's a 4-2 series lead so far for the Yankees with a +6 run differential. Winds blowing right to left, significant wind, 13 miles an hour. I like the Yankees today. I like them on the run line. I like the first 5 over 4, and I got a little bit on the team total over 4.5.
The only pushback I have is the outright statement of the Yankees bullpen being better. I don't agree with that. I don't think that. I just don't think so. And in June they've both been really good, but I would give Tampa the small bullpen edge. But other than that, look, I get it. I get why the Yankees are favored here. I think they should be favored. I can't. Tampa's way too good to get plus 220 against anybody, in my opinion.
Well, I'm not going to argue that if you look at, if you pull up the macro on it, then yes, they're equal, if not Tampa's better. But for today, for this evening's game, they're going to start with their arms straight out of the bullpen before they even get a quarter of the way through the game. Severino's going to go for 4 or 5. Then you get into the Yankees bullpen where they have their best arms at their disposal. The better arms, at their disposal now at this point in the 3-game series.
Sure. Yeah, we'll see. It'll be a fun one to watch. We're not on the opposite side very often, so it'll be fun. All right, we're heading into the AL Central now. Game 9-6-3 Rangers at 9-6-4 Tigers. It's going to be Rangers is a decent favorite here, -152. I'm showing Tigers +137 at home, over under 8.5. I've got 2 plays on this game that I feel pretty good about. What do you have for me here?
I was actually, our SportsMapElite limits us to plays, and we're able to assign values from 1 star to 5 stars, and that doesn't have to be percentages or however you take it. It could be a confidence rating. It's basically just showing how much we back the play. And I was really tossing around more than one of these wagers as a 5-star play. I think the Rangers are just going to eat the Tigers alive. Martin Perez, we're getting him on a 2-game bounce back. But only gave up 3 runs in each of those. Tigers are offense averaging 2.5 runs. Game log shows that even with those 2 mediocre pitched, 40 strikeouts. He's been going long too, over 6 innings pitched this month, and he's been doing a really good job limiting the long ball. I don't know if you followed him at all last year, but man, he was just batting practice for a lot of the AL West. And Now he induces the 5th most ground ball of all qualifying pitchers this season. So he's really turned it around. Excuse me. On the other side, you got Bo Brisky, 6.4 expected, 4.83 xFIP. I already mentioned the offense, and there's nothing you can say about the offense. Rangers have been putting up offense in the last 2 series, and they have the better bullpen. Well, they've got a comparable bullpen. They're playing a hell of a lot better, and they're rested. I like the Rangers run line, the first 5, and I like the team total. I think they're just going to smash Detroit today.
Yeah, I agree in general directionally. Martin Perez, it's funny. You look at the last start he had at the White Sox, and it was terrible. It's like, oh, well, how do you want to back a guy after a start like that? That's what the White Sox do to left-handed pitchers. And I say it almost every single episode. The White Sox crush lefties. They're not that great against righties. That's the number one thing to know about them. And I find it really fascinating because there's another pitcher who faced the White Sox last week, is a lefty, had a terrible start, only lasted 3 innings, came out last night and took a no-hitter into the 9th inning. That's Tyler Anderson of the Dodgers.
Right.
Struggled in Chicago, dominated the next time out against Anaheim. I think you're looking at something really similar here. Perez struggled at Chicago. It just doesn't matter to me if I see a lefty struggle at Chicago. It doesn't change my perception of them. It just reaffirms what we already know. And I think, Detroit is just, they can't hit. I think they have 30 homers all season as a team. Like you said, Perez has been doing a great job keeping the ball on the ground. I like Texas' first 5 run line, laying the half run. That comes in at -115. The bullpens have been pretty similar to one another, so I'd rather grab the advantage in the portion of the game where we really have it. Mm-hmm. But I don't see the Tigers getting a ton of offense anyway. The other bet that I have here is Tigers team total under 3.5. I know it's kind of tough to swallow a 3.5 team total. It's really low. Detroit under that in 6 of their last 7. They're just not hitting. And so I just think, Texas has a top 10 bullpen in baseball in June. I don't think they're going to have to use it for more than 2 innings with the way Perez has been going. I think you're going to see Martin Perez go out 7 innings, a run, maybe a run. Maybe the bullpen comes in and gives up a run. And I think Brisky is kind of there for the taking. He's okay. I don't think he's as bad as the perception of him, but he's not great. I think you're probably looking at something like 4-1, 4-0 Texas through 5, and I think you're probably looking at like a 6-1 final score. It's really weird to bet a team total under 3.5. It might be one of the only times I do it all year, but Detroit cannot score. This offense it's horrendous. It's right there with Oakland. So that's those are the 2 plays I've got there. Texas first 5 run line, Detroit team total under.
Yeah, I did a lot of those team total unders earlier in the season with the Royals and with the Athletics, and I was successful more often than not. It's just I typically tend to get away from that once we get into June and July because at this point, they start catching up. The over and unders. I remember when you were just all over the unders, they were hitting like 64, 65%, the first 60 days of the season. Now it's almost a 50-50. I want to say 51.5 or something like that over and under. So the books are adjusting, the hitters are adjusting. It's scary, but I forgot who was listening on the radio this morning, but they said the Detroit Tigers average of 2.56 or 2 point something like that was the lowest run average they've had since the 1940s. That's wild.
Yeah, they're just not hitting the ball. They're just not. And Perez has been. To me, it's funny. I saw a Cy Young odds thing that listed like the top 6 or 7 arms in the AL for Cy Young contention. I didn't see Martin Perez on there. I think he should. But
the Rangers do a good job protecting their all-stars, the all-star witness protection program.
Yeah, and by the way, looking at some of those odds that were posted, Mike Trout at 5-1 to win the MVP. I don't know. I feel like I get that Aaron Judge has 25 homers and he's doing crazy stuff and he's -110 and whatever, but if Aaron Judge goes cold at some point, gets hurt at some point, if anything happens to him, I don't see how Mike Trout doesn't become the favorite. So just kind of a general betting thought there. I think Mike Trout at 5-1 right now has some value. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
He's still going through the worst slump right now of his entire career. This seems pretty status quo for Trout, though. He'll either come out, if he's not hurt, he'll start the season pretty strong, and then he starts, slumping a little bit. And after that, he really steps on the gas for that regular season MVP consideration. So sure, I mean, if you get 5-1 on Mike Trout for just about anything, unless he's sitting at home with his leg up in a cast, that's going to be good value. I mean, he's still probably unequivocally the best baseball player we have in the league right now. So I don't hate it, but what's his age now? How old's Trout? 28?
He's about 30, I think.
You think he's in his 30s already?
I think he's about 30 because I think he's a year older than I am.
Okay, I want to say he's 28 last I checked. But anyhow, yeah, you worry about him to keep repeating the same thing over and over again. There's always the injury bug, which is a constant with him. So 5-1, I mean, sure, if you want to put a marker down on that. As the years go on and the Angels continue to be terrible and mismanage their assets, it just gets less and less attractive to me.
Sure. By the way, speaking of the slump, he came out of it. He went 7 for 15 over the course of like 3 games or 4 games.
That is true.
So,
well, we haven't had to talk about the Angels in a while because they suck.
Yeah, well, I mean, they had to get on the freeway for a couple hours and go get the last 2 nights. So, they're feeling it a little bit. Speaking of the Angels, we'll jump into the next game here. 9-6-5 Angels at 9-6-6 Mariners. Anaheim is thrilled to have left the faraway city of Los Angeles, where they got completely stymied the last 2 nights, as they deserve, against the real team from LA. But they're up in Seattle tonight. It's going to be Shohei Ohtani on the mound for them against George Kirby for Seattle. Angels a small favorite here, -120. Seattle +110 at home. Low total of 7. Games in Seattle have been really staying under. I mean, that series with Minnesota, all 3 games finished with a total of 5. I've got some thoughts here. I've got a bet here. Do you have anything on this one?
I might chime in. This is one of the games I didn't put a whole lot of stock into. I don't know why I thought Ohtani was on the road. That made no sense to me. Ohtani just came off the road, as you said. So, I had a couple of ideas on the game, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm actually backing the Angels here, and I haven't done it for a while. They've lost 18 of 20, and they're they haven't been hitting. They've been shut out 4 times in June. They were a hair away from getting shut out again tonight by our Lord and Savior Tyler Anderson. But I think tonight is a night where they can break out, and Shohei Ohtani I think is going to pitch well. I'll walk through a little bit of why. For one, he faced the Mariners twice last year, 13 innings, 3 earned, pitched well against them. He was really strong his last time out against Boston. I thought he looked really good in that one. Here's the main reason I like Shohei tonight. His stats have been kind of shaky his last 6 starts, but these are his last 6 starts by opponent: Toronto Blue Jays, New York Yankees, these are the Angels' last 6 series by opponent. This is part of why I think they're going to bounce back. Angels' last 6 series: Toronto Blue Jays, New York Yankees, Philadelphia Phillies, Boston Red Sox, New York Mets, LA Dodgers. I mean, the Phillies aren't great, but they caught the Phillies when they were hot. I think a lot of teams would lose quite a few games going through a stretch like that. So I actually think that they're kind of catching their breath here against the Mariners. I think they're obviously hyper motivated to kind of get this monkey off their back. Not that that's much of a betting angle, but I think Ohtani I think is probably going to shove tonight. He's looked really good, and I think the other side of it too, George Kirby, he's had really mixed good and bad results. I think he's got a 99th percentile walk rate. That helps him quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
But everything else is really not pretty. He gives up a lot of hard contact. He doesn't really strike very many hitters out. His expected ERA is well over 4. So I think this is a guy where the swing and miss isn't there with him. I think the Angels are, kind of taking a breath of fresh air heading up to Seattle. I think they're going to swing a little bit. A little bit more of a field play than I normally go with, but I like the Angels quite a bit. First 5 innings on the money line at -130. I think we're getting better value than we should just because of how cold they've been against really good competition.
Yeah, I feel the same way. If you bring up the MLB.com preview pane, I mean, Showtime and George Kirby are pretty damn comparable. I know it sounds weird to say that, but the metrics are damn close. I don't want to say it's a wash because Obviously, Shohei at home versus Shohei on the road are two different Otanis. But as the stats match up, I mean, this should be a wash on the mound. Then you've got the Angels, who, of course, as you mentioned, are cold. Mariners, they haven't been making much noise on the scoreboard either. What about a Nerfy on this one?
I'm not that into the Nerfy because I don't trust George Kirby.
Okay.
I guess for me, I don't necessarily see eye to eye with you on the premise of it being a wash in the starting pitching. I think George Kirby doesn't have the sample size that Shohei does. I think we've seen Shohei do it for a year and a half now at this level.
True.
Whereas I think George Kirby, there's a little bit more smoke and mirrors there. And I mean, look, he's a really high ranking pitching prospect. I think he's gonna have a great career, but as of right now, I can't get behind calling it a wash. I think the Angels have the advantage in the early going, and they're a team that Nerfy scare me with only because you're going to get Ward, Trout, Ohtani right out. Yep. So I don't hate it, but I would throw a little caution at it. I prefer Anaheim first 5.
Well, this would also be the first time the Angels are seeing Kirby this year to support my Nerfy bet. Smoke and mirrors be damned, right?
Yeah. I mean, I also lean over 7 in the game just because I think both these starters are maybe a little bit overvalued. But I just with Seattle's just these games they play at home up there in Seattle, it just seems like the ball is just dead. It doesn't fly. They have the marine layer. It just I don't know. I feel like that it's just these constant late night low scoring games in Seattle. I don't know. I can't play it over there right now.
No, dude, you're preaching to the choir. Every time I have to watch an Astros game out there at Safeco Park, it's already 9 o'clock, like 9:30 my time by first pitch, and then I'm pretty much a guaranteed under. So I'm like, I'm not staying up till 1 o'clock to watch this.
I hear you. Yeah, well, imagine your favorite team starting at 10 p.m. every night where you live. That's
oh yeah, that's rough. You're on the other side of the world from your favorite team. Yeah, I guess I'm preaching to the choir. Yeah. I mean, I'll back Showtime for the first 5, but I can't stomach anything involving relying on the Angels, the Mariners to put up any offense, and that Angels bullpen, of course. So it's got to be a first 5 play. I like the Nerfy still, so I'm gonna roll with that, and I'll tell you it's minus 135. I don't think that's bad value at all for Showtime at home. Yeah, especially coming off of that embarrassment in the Dodgers series.
All right, so to recap. I've got a slide here with my best bets. I'm on the Padres first 5 innings for 2 units. That's something already in progress that I wrote up at SportsMapElite. As far as I can tell, I think they're up 3-2 in that one. 4th inning. Then I'm on Cleveland, Colorado, first 5 over 6. Just scored the first run there in the top of the second for Cleveland. That'll be a sweat. We'll see. Rays first 5 plus 210. That's half a unit. Just trying to pick up a little more than a unit there. Rangers first 5 minus half a run. I'm tempted to press that and make it 2 units, but I'm leaving it at 1 for now. Tigers team total under 3.5. Tigers are booty, and Angels first 5 innings on the money line. Those are the ones I've got. You want to run through the plays you've got there?
Yes, I do. I try to copy and paste, but that's not going to work out. I'm limited to some characters. I have character limitations. So instead, let me just go ahead and just go right off the SportsMapElite page. For this afternoon, excuse me, I've got the Orioles. Oh, never mind. The game's already going. Guardians run. We talked about. Okay, so Phillies and Nationals. I like Phillies first 5 run line. Give me the Phillies run line on the full game and game over 9. For Rays and Yankees, I like the Yankees run line. Yankees run line. First 5 over 4. Yankees team total over 4.5. And the Rangers Tigers, I like the Rangers run line. Rangers first 5 run line, and the Rangers team total over. That's probably going to be my strongest game today. And then you have got me on board with the Mariners visiting the Angels. I'm sorry, Angels and Mariners, pardon me. I got no run first inning, and I will take the Angels first 5 money line with Shohei Ohtani on the mound.
All righty. Sounds good. Well, nice quick show today. Not too many games to go through, but, always good to chat through them. And, hopefully we can both keep the momentum going through the weekend.
Yeah, don't forget to give them the spot where to come visit us.
What's that?
So don't forget to tell them where to come visit us all.
Oh yeah. We're all of our picks are at SportsMapElite. It's $19.99 a month. If you go look at the Twitter page at SportsMapElite, they've been tweeting out. BC and I have both been pretty darn hot on MLB of late. We've both been, especially this week, and look, it's not. There will be ups and downs as the season goes along. I'm sure I've got a few more 0-8 days left in me, but overall in the season, we're both looking pretty good right now. So come check it out. $19.99 a month. If you're betting any legitimate amount of money on the games, it's well worth it. We'd love to hear from you, and come check us out on Twitter as well. I'm at Dalton J. Brown. He is at BC in Houston. Great NBA Finals coverage too. Joe Spano and Chris Delvin doing a lot with that. I'd suggest going and checking them out. I know Colin and Fred are all over the NHL as well. So a lot of good stuff. Go check it out, and we will talk to you next week.
Good luck, guys. Have a good weekend.